Okay, class, can we stand up for our prayer? Mr. Via, can you lead the prayer in front? In the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. So good morning, class. How are you all today? I hope you are all excited as me to learn a new topic for today. So now, first, let's check your attendance first. Miss Pisalbon, can you list all the names of your classmates who are present today and give it to me after our discussion. So while Ms. Pisalbon is listing all your names, kindly stand up and arrange your chairs, pick all the trashes under your tables, and please align your chairs properly. Okay, thank you. You may now sit down.
Do you still remember what was our topic last meeting? Yes, Mr. Bucanegra. Very good. Our topic last meeting is all about prehistory. Now, let's proceed to our new topic, which is all about the civilization in Southwest Asia. Now, I will present the objectives. Who wants to read the objectives? Yes, Mr. Latanga. Okay, thank you. Now, let's have an activity. Unscramble the words. Who wants to answer number 1? Yes, Mr. Bucanegra. Very good. The first word is Asia. Number 2. Yes, Miss Martinez. Civilizations. Number 3. Yes, Mr. Bulaida. Southwest. Number 4. Yes, Mr. Intera. It was all about Fertile Crescent. Number 5. Yes, Miss Marquez. It's all about Mesopotamia. Number 6. Yes, Miss Rodrigo Vilacion. It's all about Sumeria. Number 7. Yes, Mr. Villanueva. So, Big Ilon. Number 8. Yes, Mr. Intera again. Assyria. Number 9. Yes, Mr. Juan. Empire. And lastly, who wants to answer number 10? Yes, Mr. Bandina. King. So, very good. So, based on our activity, what comes into your mind after you unscramble these words? Yes, very good.
So first, let's discuss about the Fertile Crescent. So anyone who can read? Okay, Mr. Salvan. Okay, thank you. So the Fertile Crescent, also called the cradle of civilization, is because it is some of the first ancient civilization like the Sumerian began. So it is located in the Middle East, and it is rich of natural soil thanks to the rivers like the Tigris, Euphrates, and the Nile River, which flooded a certain area or the land, which made it for a good for farming. So this allows people to grow or to plant crops, start trading, and making important things such as writing, math, and religion. So because of its natural resources, a lot of travelers came to this area and bringing new ideas and cultures. However, over time, challenges arose. The population grew, urbanization increased, and dams were created that leads to reduces the water flow that that results to damage of fertile soil. So today, the countries in the region need to work together or to share the water fairly. So next is how did Fertile Crescent gets its name. So anyone who can read? Okay, Ms. Pamela. Okay, thank you. So the term Fertile Crescent was created by James Henry Beeston. He is an Egyptologist. So he described Fertile Crescent as a crescent-shaped land that is surrounded by desert and mountains. So this region is located in the Middle East that is rich of soils and a better climate for farming in the past, especially near the river of the Tigris, Euphrates, and the Nile. So the Fertile Crescent was where some of the first agricultural communities began as 8000 BCE. So farming in this area is dependent on irrigation to plant crops successfully. So this region include ancient civilizations such as the Sumerian, the Babylonian, the Assyrian, the Egyptians, and of course the Phoenicians. So which these contributed to the development of human history. So next is what civilization lived in the Fertile Crescent? So anyone can read? Okay, Miss Roseanne, can you read? Okay, thank you. So many ancient civilizations live in the Fertile Crescent, including the Sumer, the Akkad, Israel, and the Babylonia. So this region is very important because it connected the ancient Egypt and the Indus River Valley, which makes it a great crossroad for trade and sharing of ideas. So the first known civilization is the Sumer. So the Sumer starting around 6,000 years ago, long before the Pyramid of Giza were built. So as I said, the Sumer was the first known civilization starting around 6,000 years ago, long before the Pyramid of Giza were built. So the Sumerians invented many important things such as the wheels, the large buildings, and of course the first ancient writings, which called the cuneiform. So later, Sumer was conquered by Akkadi, which also used cuneiform as a writing styles. So, and they also created what many people call the world's first empire. So the Assyrians united with the Mesopotamia, and nearby regions of the Assyrian Empire. So eventually, they were defeated by the Babylonia and the Medes. So next is, how do we know what life was like in the Fertile Crescent? Anyone who can read? Mr. Via, can stand up. Okay, so we know about life of the Fertile Crescent through the work of archaeologists and the things that people left behind. For example, the tablets, the statues, the personal items. So early archaeologists didn't really use careful methods which damaged the important sites. So however, in the 20th century, archaeologists such as Linda and Robert Greenwood introduced new or better ideas or better techniques. So they used grains and dug carefully layer by layer, and they documented everything what they found. So these help create an accurate timeline of ancient civilization. So, excuse me. So another source of information are the language or is the language. So scholars have created massive projects such as the Chicago Assyrian Dictionaries that took 19 years to complete. So by studying ancient writings, we know about how the meanings or the words and meanings change over time. So guiding us or giving us insight on what into the people's lives. So these discoveries help us understand the foundation of human society like the law, the math, literacy, and architecture, which trace us back to the Fertile Crescent. Okay, next. Next is, by the way, class is continuation to this. Next is how are we studying the Fertile Crescent and the Middle East today. So anyone who can read? Okay, Mr. V again. Okay, so today we study Fertile Crescent and the Middle East using advanced technologies and international collaboration. So in the past, the institutions like the Oriental Institutions or OI brought archaeology discoveries back to their countries under the system of partage, meaning to share. So over time, the countries like Egypt, Iraq, and Turkey, Iran, they created law to protect their cultural heritages, so keeping the discoveries and their country's origin. So now the focus is shifted to documentary. The discoveries is documentation and preservation of the historical site. For example, the Oriental Institution uses technology such as the satellite image, the drone photography, and the carbon dating to study ancient societies. So they also develop the Chicago method, which is undestructive way of documenting the discoveries such as the inscriptions and artworks that are now digitalized for the researchers worldwide. Excuse me. So despite the political challenges of the region, the archaeologists continue to work in places such as in Iran, in Iraq, in Turkey, and in Egypt. So, and their efforts not only uncover the new insights, but also preserving or protecting the past for the future generations.
Okay, so next is Mesopotamia. So where is Mesopotamia? So Mesopotamia is an area located in the Middle East, which includes the parts of Iraq, Kuwait, Turkey, and Syria today. It is located between the Tigris and Euphrates River in a region called the Fertile Crescent, which has reached fertile land and held early farming. So the word Mesopotamia comes from the Greek word meaning land between rivers. This area is called the cradle civilization because some of the world's first civilization started here. These early societies made important inventions in farming, writing, building, and laws that shaped the future. So next is ancient Mesopotamia. So early farming communities in the northern part of ancient Mesopotamia grew and spread southward over thousands of years. This community eventually formed what we now recognize as cities and the Sumerians were behind this development. Uruk was the first of these cities, founded around 3200 BC. It was a large city built from mud bricks, and its wealth came from the trade and conquest. At its peak, Uruk had a population over around 50,000 people. And also, do you know that the Sumerian also created the world's first written language, cuneiform? They used it to keep detailed records of trades, laws, and other important events. By 3000 BC, the Sumerians controlled most of the Mesopotamia, with several key city-states such as Eridu, Nippur, Lagash, Uruk, Kish, and Ur. Next is civilization within the Mesopotamia. Sumerian Empire. So, did you know that the name Sumerian was given by the Akkadians to describe the non-Semitic speaking people living in Mesopotamia? So, the Sumerians were famous for building cities like Eridu, Nippur, Lagash, Kish, Ur, and Uruk. These cities were organized by canals and boundary stones, which dedicated to a local god and goddesses. So here's a fun fact. The Sumerians began settling in the region around 45 to 4000 BC, and their early population, known as the Ubaid people, were important for their advances in farming, raising cattle, feeding, and even making beer. Okay, so next is their religion. So the Sumerians were polytheistic, meaning they believed in many gods and goddesses, with some estimates suggesting there were over 3,000 of them. Their gods were often anthropomorphic, meaning they were imagined in human form but with divine powers. So the core pantheon of gods included An, the god of heaven, Inti, who was a healer and a friend to human, Enlil, who gave powerful spell, and Inanna, the goddess of love and war. So other gods like Utu, the god of sun, and Sin, the god of moon, also played important roles in their religious. Okay, so each Sumerian city had its own patron gods and goddesses that was believed to protect the city from danger like war, disease, or famine. These gods were also believed to help ensure good harvest for the people. Did you know that every profession in summer had its own special gods and goddesses? So there were gods who watched over bakers, butchers, and even candlestick makers. The Sumerians would pray to these gods daily, asking for protections and blessings for their work and community. So next is their technology. So they have 5 technology, which is the mass-produced pottery, writing, the chariot, metallurgy, and mathematics. So first is mass-produced pottery. So the Sumerians were the first to use the turning wheel to mass-produce pottery. Before this, pottery was made by hand, but the turning wheel allowed the Sumerians to create pottery much faster and in larger quantities. This innovation was crucial for daily life as it enabled the production of many items quickly, especially containers for workers' rations. These containers can be found as the ancient equivalent of Tupperware. So thanks to the turning wheel, the Sumerians could efficiently store foods and supplies, which helped support their growing cities and workforce. This invention played an important role in their ability to manage resources and keep up with the demands of a booming civilization. So next is their writing. So the Sumerians are often credited with developing one of the earliest writing systems. Though it is not completely certain they were the very first. By 2800 BC, it's clear they were already using written communication. Scribes would use sharpened reeds to carve symbols into wet clay, which would then dry and form tablets. This system of writing became known as cuneiform. So did you know that the cuneiform wasn't just used by the Sumerians? It was later adopted by many other civilizations across the Middle East and remained in use for over 2,000 years. Cuneiform was key in keeping records and passing down knowledge. making it one of the most significant inventions of the ancient world. Okay, so next is the chariot. So the Sumerian didn't invent wheeled vehicles, but they are believed to have developed the first two-wheeled chariot, driven by a team of animals around 3000 BC. According to Richard Bulliet, these chariots were likely used for ceremonial purposes or by the military rather than as a common means of transportation. Because of the rough terrain in Mesopotamia, these early chariots weren't built for long distance travel. Instead, they were probably used for special events or in battle, marking an important step in the development of vehicles that would later spread to other civilizations. So next is their metallurgy. Metalworking so impressive is their advanced techniques. They use furnaces powered by reeds and to control the temperature. They operated bellows with their hands or feet. This level of control and precision in working with coppers was an incredible leap forward in technology, not only for making tools, but for creating arts that would leave a lasting impact for or on the future civilization. Okay, so the last one is mathematics. While early humans used simple methods like making notches on bones to count, it was the Sumerian who developed a formal numbering system. Their system was based on units of 60 as described in the book of groundbreaking scientific experiment, inventions, and discoveries of the ancient world by Robert E. and Caroline Krebs. Initially, the Sumerian used reeds to keep tracking numbers, but as their writing system evolved, they're switching to use vertical marks on clay tablets for counting. So the next one is the Sumerian social classes, the levels of the ziggurat. So when we talk about social structures today, we often use the term pyramids, like a food pyramid or the dreaded pyramid schemes. However, when describing the Sumerian social classes, it's more fitting to think of them as a ziggurat. Those massive multi-tiered temples that once dominated the cityscapes of ancient Mesopotamia. So the ziggurat represents the level of society, and just like the layers of the structure, the Sumerian society was divided into different classes, each with a specific role and importance. Let's take a look at the classes starting from the top moving down. So we have top tier, middle tier, and bottom tier. Okay, so the first one is the top tier. So at the very top were the priests and rulers. They were considered the closest to the god and had most power, making important decisions for the city-states and ensuring that religious rituals were followed. So next one is in the middle tier. So below them were the merchants, artisans, and scribes. These people were highly valued for their skills and contributed to the economy by trading goods, creating art, and recording information. So in the bottom tier, at the base of the ziggurat, were the laborers and farmers. These people made up the largest group in society, working the land and supporting the other classes through their hard work. Okay, so next is kings and high priests, the ruling class. So in ancient Sumer, priests were more than just religious figures. They had the critical task of keeping records, distributing wealth, and managing the economy, all while handling their spiritual duties. Temples became the heart of the city, and the priests were at the center, acting as the vital link between the divine and the everyday life of the people. They truly keep society running smoothly. As the time passed, Sumer faced challenges that might sound familiar today: overpopulation and climate change. As fertile land became harder to find and maintain, cities began to fight for control over these precious resources. The focus started to shift from religious duties to the ability to protect the city and its land. So that is the kings and high priests, the ruling class. Next is climbing down the ziggurat, the upper class. So in the ancient Sumer, the upper class was made up of the king's family, powerful priests, wealthy landowners, and all-important scribes. While they didn't do the tough physical labor of farming or digging ditches, they held all the power to manage the people who did. They were the decision makers, the ones who's in charge, and the ones who lived a life of comfort. Now, let's talk about the scribes. They were the rock stars of the upper class. In a time when the most people couldn't read or write, scribes were considered incredibly elite. Learning to write in cuneiform wasn't easy. It took about 10 years. They keep all the records, from tracking trades between cities to managing logistics and administrations. Without scribes, nothing would run smoothly. Imagine if we didn't have written records today, everything from grocery lists to business contracts would be a chaos. Scribes also pass on their knowledge, teaching future generations of elite students how to read and write, ensuring the flow of knowledge and power. So next is the commoners and the middle class. In ancient Sumer, the closest thing to our middle class was known as the common class. This class played a crucial role in everyday life, keeping the marketers alive and bustling with energy. Imagine walking through a crowded marketplace where merchants sell fresh fruits, vegetables, and exotic perfumes. You'd also find rare goods like timber and metals, which were highly valuable, and see artisans showcasing their amazing work in baskets, pottery, and arts. And don't forget the smiths, who work hard in their forges, creating tools and weapons for the city. The common class was like the lifeblood of Sumerian society. If the ruling and upper class were the leaders, then the common class were the workers and creators who made sure life ran smoothly. They supplied all the essentials, keeping the city moving and buzzing with activity. So that is the commoners and the middle class. Working the land, farmers, and slaves. So at the very bottom of the Sumerian social ladder were the farmers and slaves. While their work was tough, it was essential for keeping society running smoothly. Imagine being a farmer in ancient Sumer. Your day was spent tending to fields of wheat and barley, or taking care of pigs and sheep to sell at the market. But farmers didn't just plant crops. They were also brilliant innovators, developing irrigation systems by digging canals to bring water from the Tigris and Euphrates rivers to their crops. And if you think farming was easy, think again. Sumerian Sumer had an almanac tip on how to grow and protect their crops, like praying to the goddesses of vermin to keep away pests. Then there were the slaves, people who endured the hardest physical labor. Many were captured during the military raids and forced into construction works, building walls, roads, and fortifications. Some worked inside as servants, waiting on the upper class or working in temples. Despite being at the bottom of the social ladder, their work was absolutely crucial to the survival of the ancient Sumer. Without them, the mighty cities of Mesopotamia would have scrambled. Okay, and that's all. Thank you.
Now let's proceed to the Akkadians. Akkadian Empire. So the Akkadian Empire, ancient kingdom in Mesopotamia, started by Sargon or Sargon I of Akkad. So around 3000 BCE, the Sumerians had a significant cultural interchange with the people of northern Mesopotamia known as the Akkadians were the inhabitants or the people of Akkadia, a city-state in Mesopotamia. So Sargon and his dynasty. Sargon the first was the first king and his family ruled the next. So Sargon reigned for over 56 years. 56 years, and then Sargon's empire reached westward as far as the Mediterranean Sea and perhaps Cyprus, and extended all around Mesopotamia. Now let's proceed to the collapse of the Akkadian Empire. So the collapse of the Akkadian Empire brought by different reasons or factors. So one of which is that in 2154 BCE, after 180 years from its founding, the Akkadian Empire collapsed due to conflict with its neighboring states, sudden attacks, invasions, and droughts. So, religious customs. So, people worship many gods and rituals, which means that the people of Acadia were polytheistic or polytheistic. So, Acadians adopted the religious customs of the late Sumerians, which are they worship many gods, which means they are polytheistic. So now, let's proceed to technology. So they invented writing and improved tools and buildings. One of the example is one of Acadia's invention or technological advancement of Acadia is that they created the first postal system where clay tablets known as cuneiform inscribed in a script were wrapped in an outer clay envelope. And in order to read the message of that tablet, you have to break the clay first. So that, or the reason for that is to reach the message to the recipient. There was no way to open it, the clay envelope, just by breaking it. So now, let's proceed to social classes. So the Acadians have these social classes. So these social classes is composed of the king and nobility, the priests and priestesses, the upper and lower classes. So the king is the one who has an absolute power or rule all over the empire, where the nobility are influential people who are close to the king and can influence a king's decision, while the priests and priestesses are the one who took care of temples and rituals. Because in Akkadian society or Akkadian empire, religion is one of the most important aspects of their daily lives because it defines their way of living. And also the king must take care of their religious rituals in building monuments, ziggurats, and temples. It is because they believe, or the king believes, that his power is will of the gods. Now, let's proceed to the upper class. So the upper class are rich people, or like nobles and priests. So the nobles and priests are belong to the upper classes, while the lower classes is regular people, farmers, and workers. So even though they are considered lower class, but they are the most important because they kept the empire operating. Because this lower classes is composed of farmers, workers, clay makers, fishermen, normal occupation. Next is the Babylonians. Babylonians are the people of Babylon, so known for their advancement in law, science, and culture. So Babylon remained a minor territory for a century after it was founded until the reign of its sixth Amorite ruler, Hammurabi. He was an efficient ruler, establishing a centralized bureaucracy with taxation. And Hammurabi freed Babylon from the Elamite dominance and then conquered the whole southern Mesopotamia. Did you understand, class? Okay, that's good. So, the Babylonians under Hammurabi. Next is the decline of the first Babylonian dynasty. So Babylon fell after the death of Hammurabi. So Babylon weakened from invasion and internal conflicts or civil wars. Next is the temples and religious life. So temples were central to Babylonian religion with priests performing rituals for the gods. Just like the Akkadians, the Babylonians are also polytheistic, which means they worship many gods. Now let's proceed to the inventions and discoveries of the Babylonians. So number one is the first map. Ancient Babylonian cartographer created the world's first map on clay tablets around 2300 BC. And the map covers a small region of Babylonia. So during the Akkadian Empire, so it shows trade routes and was used as reference during military campaigns, hunting, and exploration. Next is the cuneiform. So the cuneiform is the earliest known writing system. So it was adapted by so many empires around our civilization, and one of which is the Babylonians. Next is agriculture. So agriculture is one of the most crucial part of the Babylonian civilization because agriculture provides goods for the whole empire, and also it is one of the to keep the empire operating. Next is urbanization. So the growing population of Babylonia forced them to move to urban areas and create settlements, creating the first settlements or centralized settlements. And next is the astrology and horoscopy. In ancient Babylon, it was thought that there are celestial bodies that has divine powers which directed people's lives. Constellations were used to determine weather, climate, and seasons, and to help people decide which crops should they plant. And lastly, the study of mathematics. Mathematics has always been a part of human life, and the Babylonians developed many advanced mathematical theories which are still used today. As the Babylonian civilization flourished and began to trade, an accurate counting was necessary to measure the value of goods exchanged. The Babylonians created the concept of counting, and the sexagesimal number system was also originated in Babylon. Next is the art and architecture. So art and architecture is one of the gems of the Babylonians. So Babylonians built gigantic structures such as temple and resemble huge towers that were known as ziggurats. And Etemenanki was a famous Babylonian ziggurat measuring around 299 feet, 91 meters, which possibly inspired the story of the Tower of Babel. It is now ruins. Last is the social classes. So society had kings, priests, just like any other civilization around Mesopotamia. So it involves kings, priests, nobles, priestesses, merchants, and any other occupation which are defined as social hierarchy in the Babylonian Empire. And lastly, the Assyrian Empire. Assyrians. The Assyrians, an ancient civilization known for its powerful empire, military strength, and advancement in culture. The Assyrian Empire started off as a major regional power in Mesopotamia in the 2nd millennium BCE, but later grew in size and stature in the 1st millennium BCE under the series of powerful rulers, becoming one of the world's earliest empires. Next is Assyrian religion. So Assyrian religion, just like any other civilization in the Mesopotamia, it is a polytheistic, worshipping gods like Ashur, the main deity, and any other gods for protection and success in battle. Next is technology. So one of the contributions or the inventions of the technological advancement of the Assyrians is the wheel. So the Assyrians improved the wheel using it for chariots and transportation. Next is mathematics. So they use basic arithmetic sequence or arithmetic for trade and building projects. Next is astronomy. So Assyrians studied the stars, creating early star charts and calendars. Next is the medicine. So they practice medicine with herbal remedies and surgical techniques. Next is the Assyrian social stratification. So the Assyrian social stratification is just like any other social classes in the Mesopotamia or in the region of Mesopotamia. It is an hierarchical class. So which means that there is a king that has an absolute power that controls all over the empire, and then there is these government officials, nobles, and priests. So they manage the empire, they manage the governance and the religious practices, and also influence the king's decision. Next is the soldiers. So soldier is the powerful military force that essential for the empire's expansion and territorial protection and control. Next is the scribes. So scribes are educated people who kept records. So are also referred as scholars at that time. And next is the merchants. So the merchants, or the main job of merchants, is to trade goods, whether it is overseas or inland. Next is the artisans. So the artisans are, the examples of artisans are metal workers, builders, craftsmen, and weavers. And lastly, farmers. So farmers are considered as the backbone of the economy. They are the one that produces goods all over the empire and kept the empire operating. And that's all. Do you class have any questions about our topic? Clarifications or violent reactions? And if not,